Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Playmore69, aka Michael, and this is the All in All Podcast, Episode 1. Welcome, everyone, to the new podcast that I am launching. This is a podcast where I will talk about random topics that I decide from on a weekly basis. I hope to obviously upload this on a weekly basis, and this is the first episode, so it's mainly going to be an introductory episode into myself, my YouTube channel, and a little bit of why I haven't been active on YouTube in about 5 to 6 years, not really uploading a Call of Duty commentary since then. If you don't know, I am known on YouTube for Call of Duty commentaries. That's where I really built my channel up. I went all the way from 0 subscribers to 981. I remember that number. That's when my channel inevitably got hacked. Now, I will go into detail about that, but I will just give a brief summary over my YouTube channel for people who don't know me, and then for the people who are new and don't know me whatsoever. This could be some good backstory into where I was on YouTube and kind of why I'm doing this now versus going back into gaming. So I started on YouTube in the beginning of 2013. I started uploading Call of Duty videos and I really enjoyed it. Commentary was something that I just absolutely enjoyed and wanted to do more of. I don't really know where the passion came from, but it was definitely there. And I didn't actually know it at the time. I didn't know if it was I liked Call of Duty commentary or I just liked commentary in itself. It was also the video creation, the video editing. There were so many factors in it that I couldn't pinpoint what I really liked. And that was kind of like a little bit mysterious to me at the time. I didn't know what I liked, but I know I liked doing it. So fast forward about 2.5 years of doing Call of Duty commentary videos, I eventually woke up one day and my channel I wasn't signed into. This has never happened before, and I tried to obviously sign into it like any normal person would, and I wasn't able to. Turns out my email was hijacked and my channel was stolen from me. Now remember, this was 2.5 years of uploading Call of Duty commentaries alongside some iOS videos every now and then, but they were very sporadic on my channel. I was mainly a Call of Duty channel. I had about 250 videos on my channel, countless hours of editing and filming and reshooting, getting the best gameplay. It was a lot of work that all the videos were eventually deleted by the person who hijacked my email and signed into my YouTube channel, and YouTube did absolutely nothing about it. They basically told me since I wasn't a YouTube partner, none of my videos are backed up. This is for all the people out there that aren't YouTube partners. None of your videos on YouTube are backed up, meaning if someone was to sign into your account or get on your account in any way and delete your videos, they're gone forever. But if you are a YouTube partner, your videos are backed up. So that was just very disappointing to me because I was so close to becoming a YouTube partner. Like I mentioned before, I had 981 subscribers. I still remember that number. And YouTube did nothing about it. They got my YouTube channel back. It took them months, but they didn't do anything about my videos. All that hard work I put in, the fact that I just wasn't a big YouTuber, they really didn't care. I bet even if I was a YouTube partner, they probably wouldn't even take the time to restore my videos. It just seemed like they didn't really care about all the time I put in. And it was a lot of time. That was 2.5 years for a teenager. I was pretty dedicated on becoming, I don't want to say like a stereotypical YouTuber. I was just dedicated to my craft and dedicated to what I'm actually doing on YouTube. And it was just very disappointing. Anyways, apart from that, I really get to the dark ages of my YouTube channel. This is from 2016, because my channel got hacked at the end of 2015. This is from 2016 to 2019, where I had absolutely, or mid 2019, I had absolutely no uploads on my channel whatsoever. Even though I got my channel back in 2016, I I guess, disheartened from YouTube, and I had this vendetta against them that I would never become a YouTube content creator again. Even though I loved doing it, I just didn't want to go through that again. I didn't think it would happen because, it's probably quite rare to get your email stolen, if you have a somewhat decent password, two-factor authentication, but I just didn't want to go through that again. So for basically 3 years, nothing was uploaded on my YouTube channel. I had no videos whatsoever. My subscribers were obviously slowly declining as time went on. I think I fell from 981 all the way to around 800. So basically lost all my active subscribers, and the only people who were subscribed to me were basically dead accounts at that point, and I knew that. I really didn't have a YouTube channel beyond that point. But in 2019, I decided, hey, maybe I can become like a clip channel or a meme channel in a way. Just upload random videos and, they might get views, they might not. But it's not really content creation, but it still kind of fueled that buzz I got from content creation. At least for a little bit, because basically that's what I did for about 2 years, from 2019 to 2021, is upload random clips on my YouTube channel and hope they got some views. Some videos were edited by me, but most of them were just reposted clips from areas I found on the internet, like Reddit or YouTube or Twitch or something like that. Most of those were not created by me, but some of them were. But overall, it never fueled my content creation like it did when I was a Call of Duty commentator. That really, what really hit me for the Call of Duty commentaries. Every time I did one, it was an amazing feeling. But doing the clips never really felt that way. I was able to gain sort of a subscriber base from these clips. I was able to kind of drag my channel out of the dead. I slowly built up subscribers and everything like that, but the big video that absolutely hit it out of the park for me was the Nanners video. It's the most popular video on my channel. It has over 150k views. It's literally just a clip right off of her 1 million subscriber stream, singing Say So, which is the parody of, I think it's, Say So, but it's Say So, one word. And that video really absolutely exploded on my channel. I gained a ton of subscribers. I went from around 850 all the way now to, I think, 1,080 subscribers. I am almost at 1,100 subscribers just from that video. And I guess I finally hit my goal that I was trying to hit forever. Basically, the goal was, like, if I was to ever get paid from YouTube, that would be like one of the biggest wins out there for me. Like, I don't know. I saw the potential on YouTube really, really young. I remember thinking when I was like 9 or 10 years old, the second I saw people could play video games and make money off of it, I was like, it sounds like a dream job. Obviously, looking at it now at 21 years old, I know that it's not sustainable as I thought, because there's a lot of YouTubers that were very popular in like 2010 to 2012, 2013, but are not that popular now. And we can all think of those YouTubers, but I mean, that really just goes to all YouTubers in general. I mean, there's only a very select few individuals that are YouTubers that literally have sustained from the early days of YouTube all the way till now. So I know that when it comes to making a career off of YouTube, it's probably very unsustainable. I mean, there are certain cases, like, yes, you could be very successful from the early days of YouTube and build a career off of that and gain a big enough subscriber base and fan base that you'll be fine, but very select few of individuals will actually accomplish that. And I never envisioned myself accomplishing that whatsoever. I envisioned myself gaining a somewhat small audience, but I thought my Call of Duty commentaries were at least above average for the time, especially for my age bracket. I started doing them when I was only 12 years old, and to do YouTube at 12 and Call of Duty commentaries, it was obviously really hard, but I gained a subscriber base off of that and was able to build a channel. I went all the way from 0 subscribers to 981. I was on the precipice of becoming a YouTube partner at, I think, 15 years old, which was insane for me. Starting a project at 12 years old and then 2.5 years later becoming almost a YouTube partner was, to me, quite unheard of. But now looking back on certain YouTubers, they were YouTube partners at like 13 or whatever, so I wasn't that special, but it felt special to me because I never thought I could get to that point. But overall, it was a good feeling to almost get to that point. It's just I never actually achieved it, so it didn't really feel like anything. But I look back at it and think, hey, I did all that on my own. Those years of grinding were insane. Absolutely loved them. Wish I could go back and do it again. But they're behind me now. The hijacking of my email happened. I live with it now. Obviously, for a good 3, almost 4 years, I did not ever want to upload a YouTube video again with my channel because just at the risk of that happening. But I finally did. It started with clips, and now I'm here recording a podcast, which it took me about 6 years to finally come back to YouTube and actually do some sort of content creation like this commentary. And the reason I chose podcasting, I guess we can get into that next topic of really what to expect from this podcast and why I'm actually coming back to YouTube. Because I think a lot of people in my situation, or the situation that happened to me, they probably wouldn't come back to YouTube because obviously, they had a bad experience. Why would they come back? Spending 2.5 years of your life creating, videos and editing them and putting them on YouTube and building a fan base is really time-consuming work. I was basically working on YouTube every single day at that age because I thought I would become a YouTuber, wasn't really focusing on school. But I'm glad I turned that around, and that's basically kind of what I'm getting into. But sticking to the topic at hand of what to expect from this podcast, well, it's called the All in All podcast, which is a synonym, all in all, for everything. I wanted to call it the Anything and Everything podcast, but sadly there's a podcast out there that is called the Anything and Everything podcast that only has 2 episodes, but I decided not to use their name just because you never know, they could come after me or whatever, like, why are you using our same name? Even though it's a very generic name, I just was like, thesaurus.com that was like, okay, what's another word for everything? And it was like all in all, and that rolled off the tongue to a extent, and I was like, you know what, the All in All podcast, that sounds good. So what I hope to do with this podcast is basically talk about random topics, obviously, anything and everything, whatever topics really pique my interest for that week, I'll talk about. And if I do actually build a fan base off of this podcast and have listeners and get commenters, then I will definitely take anyone's comments, and I'll talk about any topics that any of these listeners would want to actually question me about. So anything, if you are listening out there and you want to request a topic, I'd love to talk about it. But for now, it's basically topics that I pick off, and I think I have a good list so far. I've been building up a list as I go. I think I have the first 5 episodes really planned out. I mean, this episode for right now, it's really just the introductory episode. I'm not really going to go in depth on too many topics on this episode. I'm really just talking about my YouTube channel, my history. I'll talk a little bit more about myself, and really obviously what to expect from this podcast, which it's really just anything. It's not going to be a specific topic. I don't want to restrict myself to just being like a political podcast or a gaming podcast. That's why, I want to have something like the All in All podcast, where I can talk about just anything. So I guess we can get into my next topic here, which is college. So this is really why I didn't come back sooner, is mainly in 2019, I was still in the middle of college, middle of my degree, and obviously I didn't have time. But I will talk about college briefly, at least my experience. So I went to college right out of high school at 18 years old. I enrolled in community college because I didn't get a scholarship for university whatsoever. And at least here, if I have any foreign listeners, this isn't going to make any sense, but if you're in America, United States, you will understand this. You know, if you don't have the money to go to university, you can't go to university unless you take out a crazy college loan, and we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. I talked to universities, or I talked to the local one near my high school because I wanted to go in for engineering, specifically mechanical engineering or aerospace engineering, and they predicted it would be roughly $100,000 for a 4-year degree. It sounds insane, but that's how expensive degrees are, at least in the United States when it comes to those universities. So I went to community college. I started out in community college, and I'm glad I did because I learned a lot and saved a lot of money. I ended up getting my associate's degree in computer networking, basically an IT degree, and really nothing special happened. It was 2 years, saved a lot of money. It wasn't that hard of an experience, but I'm glad I did it. It laid the foundations for where I am now in my IT career. Moving forward, though, the COVID pandemic happened literally right before I finished my associate's degree. So basically, this was like early 2020. This was March of 2020, and I finished my degree in May. So 2 months later, I finished my degree, and at that point, everyone is in full lockdown. Colleges, schools, they're all doing online classes. So I found a college called WGU, which is Western Governors University. I definitely recommend it to anyone out there who would want to go to an online college. The only caveat being is it's very self-motivating. There's not a instructor there telling you that, hey, you have to do this assignment tonight or you have to do this by a deadline. It's all you. So you could get your degree done in a couple months like some people do, or you could drag it on for a couple of years. I've seen people take 8 years to complete a degree. I'm not questioning their self-motivation or their self-discipline, but all I'm saying is that if you go to a self-paced college, make sure you have a level of self-discipline and self-motivation when it comes to working on your assignments. I'm glad I did, but there's a lot of people that don't. Anyways, I went to WGU. I was doing my bachelor's degree in cybersecurity and information assurance, which, if you don't know what cybersecurity is, it's basically just securing the online space. It's, it's not as fancy as it sounds, but that's basically what it is. And the reason I really went into cybersecurity, it kind of goes back to getting my YouTube channel hacked. I still remember like when I got hacked at 15 and my email was gone and my YouTube channel was gone. I still remember that day and was like, you know what? I'm going into IT. Why not go into security? So I decided obviously to go into cybersecurity. And I learned a lot of things about in cybersecurity. It was very fun. I'm glad I did it. It was one of the most difficult IT degrees, but I'm glad I challenged myself. That's also a big thing, or a big philosophy I have in life, is challenging myself. And I'm glad I challenged myself. It was 10 months of hell. I completed it in 10 months. So a normal bachelor's degree, if you already have your associates, would normally take 2 years, obviously. And I completed it in 10 months, so I completed it in half the time, which I think is pretty respectable. When it comes to my self-discipline and my work ethic, I think I really showed that in this degree, getting it in 10 months, especially only being 20 years old at the time. It's not like I had a ton of experience like some people do. Some people going into those degrees that do complete it in a couple of months have tons of experience, so I was already working at a big disadvantage going in thinking I could complete it in 3 or 4 months, but hey, 10 months, it works for me. I got a lot of certifications along the way and a nice bachelor's degree. So after I completed my bachelor's degree, I decided to go back for my master's degree, just because if you already go with a bachelor's degree and you complete it at 20 years old, I think I just turned 21 when I completed it. Yeah, it was 2 weeks after my birthday. So I completed my bachelor's degree at a fresh 21-year-old. And I basically looked at myself and was like, hey, I'm 21. Most people don't get out of college till they're 22. And I could get my master's degree right now and really set myself up for life when it comes to having a degree. So I decided to go back. I got my master's degree and I did it in under 2 months. Yeah, that's right. I did it in about 49 days. Now you're probably asking yourself, how do you do a master's degree in 49 days? Well, I worked about 3 months prior to actually technically starting the master's degree. I was already working on it then. It was just because I really knew how WGU worked, so I could pre-write my essays and stuff. And I also got in contact with my they call it the program mentor. I got in contact with them and was able to start writing my essays a lot sooner. So when I got in there, a lot of the essays were already done. This is also something for people who don't know with college, that the farther you go in college, so you start associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD, the farther you go along, the more you write. So I'm a pretty proficient writer. Even though I don't think of myself as a good writer, I'm very proficient, meaning I can always write something no matter the topic. Even if it's a topic I absolutely hate and don't care about whatsoever, I can still write about it to a pretty good extent, I think. And that's basically what I did doing my master's degree, is that I just used my proficiency and just wrote away. I didn't even think about, what I was really writing. It was just like, I would see the topic, write about it, whatever, and I'd pass it. I mean, I really don't know how, looking back at it, because personally, I don't think those essays were that good. They just needed to be a certain length and about this topic, and I followed the rubric and, hey, passed it. Which I completed the master's degree pretty fast, obviously. It wasn't a record or anything from WGU. They actually track the records, and someone's actually completed a master's degree there in about 9 days, I think. Now, this person was in their 50s and had a ton of experience, and, they already pre-writ a lot of the essays before they even started. So, again, they just had a couple tests to take and, got it. But, again, I would say for someone who is a fresh 21-year-old with no business experience, getting an MBA, that was when I got my master's degree. It was an MBA in information technology management, and I was able to get it as a 21-year-old in only 49 days on the record. So I'm pretty proud of that, but it's been about a month now since I've completed it. I completed it in September, and it's been about a month, and for that month, I've done a lot of thinking, and I've done a lot of, basically searching in a way. And the searching has really come from, what do I do with my free time now? I have a lot of free time. I worked full-time, by the way, since 18 years old. So all through college, I've worked full-time. So it feels weird to have this free time to do what you want with. It's such a weird feeling, because my experience as an adult so far has been, working full-time and going to college full-time. There was no breaks I had. There was no sort of time for myself. It was nothing but work, and I thought that's what an adult was like. That's what the adult life is like. But now, as someone who is 21 and has 3 college degrees and has still my full-time job, obviously, but now I am kind of doing that searching of, what do I do with my free time? Basically, what I've started is a little bit after my master's degree, I kind of started writing a little bit more for myself, like certain topics and stuff, which was kind of enjoyable, but I don't really think fueled that kind of search I'm looking for when it comes to doing something. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't amazing. That's when I thought back to my content creation. I was like, hey, I have a YouTube channel now that has over 1,000 subscribers. I have, it's kind of revitalized itself with that video of the Nanners video. So I thought, what if I get back into content creation? The only problem I foresaw in that was I don't have a console anymore. I don't have Call of Duty. I have a PC that is quote unquote a gaming PC, but it's actually been 3 years. It's actually 3 years old. It's 3 years since I got it, and it's been through a lot of college. It got me through college, and it doesn't hold the same speeds that it once had. It overheats a lot. It turns off every time like I game too hard on it, because I've tried gaming on it and it seems to just want to restart on me. But I thought, hey, I don't want to get back into gaming just to do content creation. There are other forms of content creation. And that's when I thought, throughout all the gaming I did, what was the common factor I liked about it? Doing YouTube, it was the commentary. It wasn't really the gaming, because I actually quit gaming and sold my console a couple months after my YouTube channel got hacked. I straight up sold my PS4 and all the games, the headset, the controllers, everything with it, just a couple months after my YouTube channel was hacked, and it was gone, because I thought it was gone forever. And I have never picked up a controller since. Now, I've done obviously some PC gaming every now and then, but it's very light. I don't game every day anymore. And even when I game, it's maybe for an hour or two. It's not like 8 hours a day when I was on Call of Duty. So it's a lot more controlled. And I really don't want to become a gamer anymore. I think the gamer lifestyle is not fun. It's very unhealthy. Obviously you can do it in moderation, but for me, I go complete overboard on it. I can't just get a console and play like a couple of games on it. I would play for hours a day. I know I would. So I just didn't want to get back into that. So I thought about it even more and was like, I like commentary. I don't want to get back into gaming. And I thought a podcast would make sense. Somewhere where I can talk and just commentate on random things that I think are interesting. And I think podcasting really brings in that freedom. The freedom to just kind of talk about whatever you want. It's all about the commentary. It's not about gaming or the gameplay anymore. It's now just, can I find interesting topics to talk about, and can I talk about them proficiently and well for people to listen to and for me to find enjoyment out of. I find a lot of enjoyment out of commentating about topics. And I think that, if people do listen to the podcast and listen to topics that I talk about, I think that they will find them interesting as well. Maybe I can bring a topic that, someone maybe not have a lot of, education in or have thought about before. Maybe I can make it interesting. I don't know if I can, but I hope to. So I guess that's really what to expect from this podcast. And obviously a little bit of history on my YouTube channel. I'll go a little bit into the college topic here, because we're at about the half-hour mark, which my plan for this podcast is to at least do an hour per podcast. But if the commentary is going well and I have many topics, then it will obviously go over an hour, but I'm going to try to hit the minimum an hour. And obviously I want to kind of give you a preview of how the podcast will kind of be like. So this will be a segment on college and why I think it is still worth it. So the reason I say that is college has, in the past, well, I would say decade, has had a lot of flack. It's been kind of demonized in the way of like, you shouldn't go to college after high school. It's not worth it. You're just going to get a lot of college debt and it's not going to be worth it whatsoever. So don't go to college. Just, get out of high school, get to work, and you'll make it in life. Which, for the majority of cases, I think that you can make it in life like that. I'm not saying college is a must. I'm not saying that it's mandatory for everyone, because education doesn't work for many people. A lot of people have a lot of trouble in education, and I know that. So I'm not saying that for every single person out there, go to college, but I am trying to say that college is still worth it. If you ask the question, if you were to ask the question for me, is college worth it? I would definitely say yes. And the reason I say that is because I see how far my college degrees have taken me in the very short amount of time I've had them. I got into cybersecurity as a 20-year-old, and in that very short period of time in getting into cybersecurity, I was promoted from just an IT technician to a cybersecurity analyst, because that's a high demand job. Now, not every job is in high demand, and I know that. So when I say, is college worth it, or you should go, I'm trying to say is trying to pick a right field for you to actually go into, so you can actually make the necessary money back that you're actually making the investment on to go to college. Because at least here in the United States, college is very expensive. We know that. It's a very big investment to take out at 18 years old out of high school and actually go. But I think there's more options than just going to a 4-year university. Basically, I'm trying to present more options, like, for instance, community college. I think community college is very much worth it, because you're only committing 2 years. You're not committing 4, so committing 2 years, and that 2 years is pretty short. By the time, if you get out of high school at 18, by the time you're 20, you'll already have a degree, and you probably won't be in much debt. If you can get some sort of financial aid or scholarship, you'll be 100% fine. And even then, if you have a job while in community college, you could probably pay for it in full, no problem. So when it comes to going that route, I definitely recommend it, because if you go to community college and actually get a degree, spend the 2 years there, you could go to university for only 2 more years and then get a bachelor's degree very easily. And it would also give you the kind of preview of how college is like. That's kind of how I see community college. It's like the preview. It's not full-on college, but because it's not as hard, but it definitely does challenge you. It's a little bit harder in high school, but it's not quite on the university level. But I would definitely recommend that avenue. I don't think going to a four-year university is the absolute must for people to go to. And I guess the other avenue I would fully advocate for is probably online college. Online college has come such a long way to where, it was a thing, it was a concept about 15 years ago, online college, and a lot of people didn't see it as a real college, which a lot of those colleges were not accredited. The one that I went to, WGU, which is Western Governors University, you can look them up. They are fully accredited. They monitor all your tests. They have certifications in their degrees to ensure that the degree that you are getting is absolutely accredited. And you also have certifications with your degree to show your level of education. And that's why my degree was so hard, because I had 15 certifications in my degree to show that the degree that I did, even though it might have been online, it was just as hard as if I was to go to a university and do a cybersecurity degree there. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the earnings for people outside of high school and the people who go to college and the amount of money they make per year. So this is a pretty I want to direct your attention to an article that I'll link down below. It's by aplu.org, which is the Associates of Public and Land Grant Universities. So this is a really good article that I found, basically detailing in layman's terms the figures, the money that you make outside of college versus outside a, high school degree, whatever, what you're making. So I think the most interesting thing here when you talk about the bachelor's degree prospects is that on average, bachelor's degree holders earn about $32,000 more per year versus high school degree owners. It says that, I think it's the third sentence in the second paragraph. So when you hear things like that, I think it puts into context more when you're really thinking about the earnings that you're going to make. And the reason I say that is that obviously money isn't everything. I know that. I think at 21 years old, I think I have a good perception when it comes to money, and that I know it's not everything. It is a fact. It's a facet of life, but you don't need to make it your entire life. The reason I say that is that you have a 3.5 times lower poverty rate for people who have a bachelor's degree. So if you were to be a high school graduate, work a normal job, you would be much more likely to be in the poverty rate, that's when you're living and you're living at a lower standard and maybe not all of your needs are met. So even though that is very, I think, disappointing, at least in the United States, when it comes to that you need a bachelor's degree or some sort of college degree to ensure that you don't live in poverty, but that's kind of how at least the United States is heading towards. And it's only shown that more over time because this gap of earnings when it comes to college graduates versus high school graduates, the gap is even widening. It's been widening over the years, at least it shows in this article. And it has this really good graph down below, which is showing the ROI, which if you work in finance or accounting, you know what ROI means, which is the return on investment. So this is the lifetime earnings by the level of education. So when you look at it, it shows that for a bachelor's degree level, you earn on average about $1 million more throughout your lifetime versus a high school diploma holder. And that is really telling, because you can hear that figure of $32,000 per year and you think that, okay, well, that's 1 year. But then when you stretch it out over a lifetime, I think it really starts to show the just gap in between there. And even with, it shows here with an associate's degree, because like I said before, I highly recommend going to a community college and getting an associate's degree. You would earn on average over $400,000 more in your lifetime with an associate's degree. And then you could spread that out over the years and you would think how much more I would make per year, which is a good amount. I know these are huge figures talking about, and it's hard to conceptualize them in your head, but I think when you really work it out, and when you work these numbers out throughout a lifetime and you factor them into each individual year, it really starts to show the money gap in between people who went to college versus people who didn't go to college. Okay, so I want to direct your attention to the second article that I'll have linked below. This is by the Wall Street Journal, and this is titled, "A Generation of American Men Give Up on College." This was posted September 6th of 2021, so this was posted last month. I remember I was in the middle of my master's degree when this was posted. So the reason I think this is impactful is, well, it made the rounds on the internet and a lot of people talked about it. I remember YouTubers, I saw it on Reddit multiple times. A lot of people were talking about this, and it shows because in this article, it details the number of men versus women that are college students. There's actually a 1 million student difference. It shows that in 2 to 4 year universities, it shows that it makes up 3.8 million women and 2.8 million men. So this split is 59.5% in favor of women and 40.5% in favor of men. This has been the biggest gap ever that it details in this article, and the gap has only been widening for about 40 years now, it says. And primarily this is young white men who are basically looking the other way and deciding not to go to college. Now, everyone can make their own decisions. I definitely recommend you reading the article. It is quite good, but this is pretty impactful, at least on a scale of earnings, because when you think about, like I talked about before, when it comes to why college is worth it in the long run, you're going to, on average, make a lot more money throughout your lifetime if you have a college degree versus you not having a college degree. There are some cases that, someone even dropping out of high school will, make a lot more money. Those are some cases, but statistically speaking, when you drop out of high school or just graduate high school and not go to college, you probably will not make as much money versus someone who did. I also think the last reason why this is so impactful, that this should definitely be taken a lot more seriously rather than being kind of memed on around the internet from what I've seen, is the gap between earnings is only widening. So if this trend continues with less young men going to college, that will ultimately set them up for, I don't want to say failure, but at least more likely to experience poverty statistically, versus people, obviously the more women going to college, versus they will not most likely experience as much poverty when it comes to that. Now, obviously, we could get into a socioeconomic debate when it comes to the people who, maybe do have the opportunity to go to college versus people who don't have the opportunity to go to college because of the amount of money that they make, because they go to a, if you grow up poor, that you grow up around a, in a poor neighborhood, so therefore you go to a poor school, and then if you go to a poor school, you have poor education. If you have poor education, then, in your development, you won't be as prepared for college, or maybe meet certain requirements like a person living in a richer neighborhood going to a better school with better resources could make it. I think that's more of a socioeconomic debate, but I think what I'm trying to at least get out of this is, if you are able to go to college and you are interested in a field that college teaches and the degree is worth it, so this is obviously doing your own research. At the end of the day, I don't think it takes a lot of research when it comes to a STEM degree, because that's the field that I went into, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. If you get a STEM degree, you will most likely be totally fine when it comes to your earnings in life. You won't have a lot of problems. You'll probably make six figures. You'll be in the top 10% of earners in the United States. At least if you live in the United States, you'll basically be set up for life. When it comes to other degrees, I can't really say the same. There are many other great degrees to go into, especially like the medical field or anything to do with accounting or finance. You'll be 100% fine in, but it really just comes down to you doing your own research, and if you are interested in the degree that you are trying to pick. That is really what it comes down to. It is that if you're interested in a field and there is a college degree that is offered in that field and you have the opportunity to go to college, I would say that yes, it is worth it. I will link one more article along with, to basically end this segment on college, is a Forbes article that came out on October 11th of 2021, so it is quite recent, and this basically shows the lifetime earnings in the amount, or in the field that you are in. So for instance, at the top of the list, there's agricultural and engineering, which is a part of STEM, which is 3.8 million, and then majored in computer, statistics, mathematics, which again, a big part of STEM is 3.6. So those are at the absolute top of the list when it comes to earnings over time. This study was also done by Georgetown University, for anyone wondering. So I would definitely take a look at that if you take a look at the other two articles, but this article is also pretty good as well. It's pretty short, but it just shows what field you're going into and your expected lifetime earnings on average when going into that field. So I think this just a little easy highlight when doing your own research when it comes to choosing a college degree program that works for you and that you're interested in, that will give you a good idea of, well, this is how much money I should expect per year. But there's much more research you can do when it comes to finding the degree that works for you. So I think I'll end it there when it comes to the college segment. I think those are really my thoughts when it comes to college degrees and is college worth it. When I was in high school, I didn't think college was that worth it, but I think being in the workforce now and seeing people my age or people a lot older than me not make anywhere near what I will make in my foreseeable future, because having 3 college degrees by 21 makes a hell of a difference when it comes to your earnings. And getting a degree really just sets you up for not being in poverty. It doesn't mean you'll be rich. A college degree doesn't guarantee that. But anyways, I will leave that segment there. I hope that this college segment on my thoughts about college and the value that it actually holds kind of gives you a preview into how the podcast will look in the future. I will, present kind of my views on certain things when it comes to any topic out there, and I will try to back it up with evidence and articles, studies, anything of the sorts. And I have many other things many other topics that I hope to talk about in the future, including young men and dating. I think that'll be a podcast coming very soon in the future. Another one will be probably a political podcast. I really want to talk about politics. I don't want to make that the main thing of this podcast, but I do definitely want to do a couple political podcasts in the future. I will try not to do it as frequently as possible, but that is something that I definitely want to make as well. And I have a couple other topics lined up in the future. So I hope that really kind of highlighted of what this podcast will be. It'll be presenting a topic, me giving my opinion on that topic, and then hopefully maybe changing an opinion or people having different opinions that I can maybe see through in the comments. I don't know, but I'll have to wait and see how it goes. So far, I'm really enjoying this. I think this was hopefully a productive discussion on college. Hopefully people have disagreements, and if you do have a disagreement, I'd love to hear it in the comments down below. Moving on to the last topic here, I talked about so far on the podcast is the history of my YouTube channel, college, and what to expect from this podcast, but I didn't talk about the future of my YouTube channel and what I envision it to be, because now, obviously, hopefully my YouTube channel is secure. Hopefully I don't get any sort of my emails hacked and my YouTube channel videos deleted, but obviously I wanted to detail the future of my YouTube channel and what to expect on it. So obviously right now I'm just focusing on the podcast because this is the first time I'm actually doing a series or any sort of upload series on my channel in 6 years. It's been a while, so I want to focus on just this for right now. I definitely will add, though, I would say expect more things from my YouTube channel than just this podcast, because I think when I get back into content creating, because right now obviously I am just doing the podcast, but once I get into that content creation groove and I have a lot more free time now, 6 years later as an adult, I have free time that I can focus on YouTube and hopefully create even better videos than before. I hope to produce more projects. Now, will they be gaming related? I have no idea in the future, honestly. I still do some light gaming here and there, but I don't know if I will actually start uploading gaming videos on YouTube again. Maybe that will be in the future. I have no idea. It really just comes down to what I'm feeling and what I think would be fun to record and really enjoyable, because that's why I do YouTube. I do it because it's enjoyable, not because I'm trying to play the algorithm in any way. Because if I was trying to play the algorithm, obviously I would clickbait, YouTube videos. They would be a lot shorter than an hour. It seems the new trend nowadays is shorts on YouTube when it comes to like actually creating content. Just creating a short, which is less than a minute long, competing with TikToks, is actually better when it comes to your channel and actually growing it. But I was never a part of like clickbait or anything like that with YouTube. I purely did YouTube for content creation, and I enjoyed doing it. That's why I started this podcast, is because I enjoy it, not because I think I will become famous one day off of it. It's something I genuinely enjoy doing, and so far while doing it, I've been recording for over 50 minutes, almost an hour now. I really enjoy it. It's great, and I hope to continue doing it as long as I can. I think the last thing to address when it comes to my YouTube channel is, will clips still be uploaded to my YouTube channel? So when it comes to the random clips that you've seen if you are a subscriber of my YouTube channel in the past 2 years that I've been uploading, probably no. I don't expect to upload clips on my YouTube channel again. I am fully going back into my content creation, meaning I don't want to repost other people's work or repost clips off of videos or anything like that. I don't necessarily consider it stealing. There's a lot of clip channels that do a lot of hard work of actually clipping the clip and making edits on it. So I don't want to just discredit it and say, oh, I'm stealing work, because there is work that is done when you are a clip channel. But for me, I want to get back into my content creation, and it starts with this podcast. But it obviously could expand into future things. I definitely believe one day I will be doing more things on my YouTube channel, but I guess I'll have to wait and see. So I think that wraps it up for the podcast, the All in All podcast episode 1. I covered all of the topics that I wanted to cover, which was really the history of my YouTube channel, where I've been, what I've been doing, and also my thoughts on college. Basically, the college segment is more of a preview of how this podcast will function in the future, basically presenting a topic, backing it up with evidence, and also sharing my opinion on it. So I guess if anyone has any questions, please put them down in the comments. I really am not going to push liking and subscribing on my channel. I purely leave that up to the individual themselves, but I would highly appreciate any comments I get on this podcast or any future podcasts I have on my channel. Beyond that point, I guess for the upload schedule, this is a weekly podcast. I don't exactly have a date in my head or a set day in my head to where I'm uploading, but my thought so far is to probably film on the weekend, do any necessarily audio editing and exporting, and then be able to upload it hopefully maybe Monday, maybe Sunday. That's kind of really my plan with that so far, and that basically gives me plenty of time to collect my thoughts throughout the week and kind of come up with topics that I can present on the podcast and talk about. Anyways, I don't want to ramble on for too much longer. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you for listening. And until next time, see ya.